Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Everything okay with audio and visual? Hello, everyone. Everybody there? Everybody good? Can everybody
I could hear
me?
you loud and clear.
Yes, no.
Yes, I could hear you. Could you hear me?
I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I hear somebody said yes. Okay. All right, Miss Martha, thank you for that. All right, so we'll give it a couple. Well, I guess we could start. First of all, I'm Mr. Rodriguez. Welcome everybody to our session for tonight. I'm gonna try to share my screen so we can get started. Just give me 1 second. Let's see. Let's see. How's that? Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. For everybody, this is De-Escalating Teenagers for Parents. I'm Mr. Rodriguez. I'm the Student Affairs Specialist for Wonderful College Prep High School and Middle School. So I do 6 through 12. Okay, let me see. I think there's somebody trying to get in. And again, I'm gonna be translating. Is there anybody that needs translation, or should I go back and forth, or does everybody speak English?
English is fine.
English is fine for everyone? Awesome. Okay, great. Let's see. All right. So again, excuse me, go ahead.
I said so far.
Okay, so far English is fine for everybody. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get into this. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know time is precious for everyone, but again, I appreciate everyone showing up, everyone that did. I know it's hard to sometimes come to these things, and especially virtually. It's kind of like doesn't feel the same sometimes, but I'm going to try to make it as homey as possible. So topics I'm going to cover today. I'm going to talk about de-escalating teenagers for parents, and a little topics that I'm going to cover in that is how to be proactive, find out what's behind our kids' behaviors. I'm going to cover a little bit of strategies here and there, and just relationships that we should be building with our students and our kids. Again, who am I? I'm Mr. Rodriguez. I'm the Student Affairs Specialist for 6 through 12 here at Wonderful College Prep. What does that mean, Student Affairs Specialist? I guess I've been called the Dean. I do discipline, I do child welfare and attendance. When kids are having issues with each other, they're having issues at home, I help them mediate their conflicts. I counsel them. So I also track attendance. So if kids are missing, they haven't been coming to school, they're showing up late, I talk to them, I talk to the parents, I try to see what's going on with the students and what's going on at home, and ask for support so that we can all work together as a team. I also go out into the communities and make home visits when I can't find those students, and I can't reach out to the parents. I can't find the parents. So I'm very active. My role is a very active role here at Wonderful. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Chicago. I came here about 10 years ago. I met my wife in Japan. We were both in the military. So we all work in education, me and my wife. And here we are. I'm working here at Wonderful College Prep, and I love it so far. It's an amazing place to be. Okay. So I'm going to jump right into this. So first is a quick tip, and a quick thing I wanted to show you guys was this iceberg. The iceberg shows us that all we see on top, the iceberg is supposed to symbolize our student, our child. So the top of the iceberg is all we see sometimes, or all we're allowed to see from our student or our child. So take a second, reflect, and think about what's behind and what's underneath all of that. So underneath all of that could be their thoughts. They're battling with thoughts in their head. They're battling with different emotions that they're feeling, and they're also feeling like they need things. And so things that we might not think they need, but they feel like they need. So a quick thing to do is check in with our students, with our child every day. Let's see how they're doing. Give them the proper greeting of the day. I know for us, they should be saying hi to us. They should be greeting us. But in this day and age, we need to make sure we meet them there, and we also say hi to them, and we also see how their day's doing. And because a lot of kids, believe it or not, they don't get that at home. They don't get that affection. They don't get that how was your day, honey? What's going on? What's troubling? Stuff like that. So that's why kids end up bottling and bottling and bottling things up until they just can't do it, and they act out in different ways. Some kids act out in behavior, some kids shut down, just different kinds of ways. And we want to try to stop that before it happens. Because believe it or not, our kids have a lot going on in their little lives. I know a saying that my parents used to tell me, you don't know what you got going on. I've been through all of that and I'm okay. But yeah, at that time, our child is going through a lot, and we need to recognize that. Let's see. So the first one I'm going to talk about is how to be proactive. I know sometimes we tend to be more reactive. Is when something happens, we need to address it, and that's okay. We need to know how to address it. But if we can stop it from getting there before it even happens, that's even better, because if we can be proactive and when our student or our child leaves home for the day, here at school, we do what's called the check-in, check-out with our students that need that extra support. So when they come to school, they'll check in with somebody they feel comfortable with. And then when they leave for the day, they'll check out with somebody they feel comfortable with. And it's just to gauge them and see how they're doing, asking them if there's anything that's bothering them, is there anything that's stressing them out, just things like that. So at home, we can do it backwards, right? We can check out with them, and when they leave to go to school, and we could check in with them when they come back. And enough sometimes that's impossible, right? Because we leave before they're even up and start getting ready for school. And so it's sometimes maybe check out with them at night when they go to sleep, and then check in with them the next day when you guys see each other again. So whatever the case it is, let's make sure we're checking in with each other, so that way we can get more of a connection in the relationship we have with our kids. Another thing, we always give consequences for the bad behavior. That's always a thing. I remember when I was a kid, I'd do something bad. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna get it, you know. But when I did something good, I never got anything. And it's not expected, kids are just expected to behave. But we need to, just as much as we give those consequences when kids misbehave, we need to also positively praise when they behave and when they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So that way we can get them to do more of that behavior. So we'll praise good behavior because that's what we want. And that's what the kid wants to feel is praised. And they want to feel like, oh man, I'm doing good and I'm being praised for it. I'm gonna keep on doing good. Okay. Another thing that sometimes in our relationship is a way we can be more proactive is show affection. Sometimes that's lacking in the household is we don't show affection, just a hug, pat on the back, and I love you, putting them to bed. I know our kids are older, but my kid is 16 years old, and believe me, papa comes and puts her to bed every night. But we need to show them that affection, to have that relationship with them, to show them that we care, and we give them those opportunities to express themselves to us. So we want to give them as many opportunities as we can so that they can express themselves to us in case anything is bothering them. Another thing, who else knows their child more than the parent, right? Or the person that spends the most time with them. So we all know our kids when they change their way of being, when they change their body language, their tone of voice, their speech, certain mannerisms, different things that they do that they're not doing, or different things that they are not doing that they all of a sudden start doing. So those are just warning signs to show us that, hey, our child is acting a little bit different now. Maybe we need to address something or see what's bothering this kid. Okay. I also talked about a topic that I'm going to cover is behind the behavior. Sometimes our students act out in certain type of behavior that they're crying for help. They don't know how to ask for help. They don't know how to express themselves when they're feeling overwhelmed with a lot of homework, with a lot of things that they got going on. To us, it might not seem like it's a lot going on, but in their little minds and their little heads at this point in their time in their lives, imagine some of our kids have only been born 17 years, 16 years, and to them, it's a big deal to them right now. So we need to make sure we address those things. And then they start acting out, where they start shutting down. They start misbehaving in school. Some of them possibly turn to drugs. That's just the reality of things. But we need to find out what's behind the behavior before it gets to that point. So that way we can mitigate that and try to bring them back before they've gone too far. The power struggle circle. I wanted to share this with you because I think it's a really good example of what a student or a child goes through in their little life, right? So when they're feeling a stressful situation, a stressful time in their life, they start to have these feelings of how to act out. Then they turn into behavior. Either it's positive behavior or negative behavior, whatever it is. And then the adult response. However we respond, whether it is we respond to them as yelling at them and calling their attention, or we respond to them as staying calm and collected and asking them what's really going on. And then that's going to cause them to act out differently the other way. But if we don't, we're going to still follow this vicious circle. So we need to make sure we understand how to break that circle, or how to address or how to change ourselves. Strategies, a couple strategies that I wanted to share that I use here at home, and I use here at school, and that I use at home with my kids, will be things that you probably already know, like reflective listening. So reflective listening is something like, if I'm talking to my child and she's telling me about her day and about what's going on, and I'm just sitting there just thinking about things that I need to get done and really not paying attention to her. She's not going to want to communicate with me anymore because I'm really not listening to her. It was just an empty question that I asked you, how was your day? And I'm just not listening. But if I use reflective listening and she's telling me about her day, and she goes, so today in math class, I struggled in this and this and that. And then my response to her, so you struggled in math class, what do you think that was? So it's just addressing little details of how we can show them that we were listening. So you start picking little details in what they were talking to you about and reflect that back to them, sort of like a mirror. And you can interrupt them here and there. That way, not a lot of that passes, and that way you don't have to remember a lot. But that's how reflective listening works. You reflect the things that they're telling you. That way they feel validated and they feel like, oh, they really do matter, and they're going to want to share more often. Another thing that we were talking about is validate the child's feelings. And so oftentimes we as adults think, well, the kid's really not going through much, but in reality, the kids doesn't have a lot of life experience like adults do. So we need to make sure that we do not dismiss these kids' feelings or these child's feelings, and we address them and we validate them, and we show them that we're there to help them, and we're there to make them feel validated. And so along with reflective listening, it goes right hand in hand with validating their feelings, because as soon as you start doing that reflective listening, the kid's going to start to feel validated, and they're not going to feel like, oh, they don't really care about me. And another thing, manage the environment. We have control over managing the environment. The kid doesn't really feel comfortable talking about something in front of their siblings, in front of their cousins, in front of their tias or their tios or uncles or aunts. We want to make sure we pull them apart and go in more of a private setting. That way they can feel that it's one-on-one, that they matter, and that this is important to us at the time. Okay, because we want them to make sure that they feel that they are important and that they do matter. Okay, so another thing would be give the child choices as to what will happen. So if the child does do something wrong, and you as a parent, you are going to be in control. So you are going to give them options as to what's going to happen next. You're not going to let them get full control, but you want to navigate this whole thing together. You want to create the options, you want to create the choices, you want to give them the options or the choices. Okay, so for instance, a student gets in trouble in school, gets suspended, whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that we talk to them and we give them options. So you got it suspended in school, you know that what's going to happen next is, if you do this, this is going to happen. So where you're going to give them the option as to, do you understand that because you did this, then either you're going to get grounded for so much time, you're going to get your phone taken away, you're going to get your Xbox or PlayStation taken away for so much time. But you give them those options as to see what's the word, what is something that they can navigate with together, that both of you can come to an agreement as to, okay, I understand. The main thing is to help them understand that they did something wrong and that they have to have these next steps to happen. Lastly, relationships. I want to talk about relationships, and all this time that I've been talking about these whole things about being proactive, finding out what's behind the behavior and those strategies that I've been offering, I want to talk about relationships, relationships with our children. We want to make sure we talk to each other, set aside some time to actually talk to our children and see what's going on with them, how's their day, just greet them, give them a hug, just normal things that we need to make sure we stay consistent with. Because if we start being lackadaisical in that, then our children are going to start lacking in that as well. So we need to make sure that we talk to each other. We talk to our children, and if we have a spouse that's there with us, and we're there raising these children together, we need to also talk to each other, spouse to spouse, and come up with different ways to raise and educate our children as to having good mannerisms, having a positive reinforcement program at home, and so on and so forth. Also, by talking to your children, you are also going to find out what their interests are. And some kids are interested in soccer, some kids are interested in Fortnite or different games that they play on their phone or whatever. But you want to also be involved. Like, for instance, my son, he's 13 years old, and he is all into some game, Call of Duty or something on Xbox. I hate playing video games. I do not like playing video games, but I make myself be involved with my child because I want to build that relationship with him. I never had that sort of relationship with my father growing up, but I want to make sure that I have that relationship with my son. Even though I do not like playing video games, I'm going to make sure I play video games with my son. And we're going to go out there, and we also play baseball. We love playing baseball. We love just going out there, catching and just throwing the ball around. So those are things that we do for each other, and we enjoy those things. But the best thing is to enjoy each other's company. Another thing would be involved in your child's life. Some students, believe it or not, they don't have parents that are involved. They have parents that go to work and they come home, they go to sleep, and they get up the next day, go to work, and that's the life. That's the life that I had with my parents. But I want to make sure that I stress this as much as possible, is to be involved. And you guys are involved right now by coming to these sessions, and I appreciate that with you. And believe me, there's no manual on how to raise a perfect child. But we're there to do this together, to troubleshoot and try to work as a team between schools and parents and child, because it's always in the best interest of the child and how they can be successful. A couple more slides here. This one speaks for itself. Parenting isn't stressful at all. And this is Jessica at the age of 27. Can you believe that? Let's see. All right, I want to open up, thank you for your time, and I want to open up for any questions that you may have regarding the slides, regarding what I do, anything that you can think of. Do we have any questions?
Hi, Eric. My name is